Welcome back, Halo followers. So today I want to talk about the next Halo game, right? It might be a little bit premature. Halo Infinite released a year ago and it's still in beta, but listen, guys, there is going to be another Halo game. And I think this does bring about a lot of hopium that maybe things will be done right the next time. But this is why I want to talk about the broadness that Halo could actually be without, of course, watering down the game and kind of ruining it in general, like the Halo TV show. So today I want to talk about other studios such as ID Software, as well as Bethesda and these other game studios that actually could make a really great Halo game that is, original in its own right, something that they're naturally good at versus trying to make a mainline Halo game. Because quite frankly, there just hasn't been many spin-offs since 343 has taken over. We haven't really seen the Flood much in the past 15 years. There's so many great possible games out there. And so I want to talk about what 343 asked here. Firstly, what is one aspect they asked of Halo Infinite that we would like to learn more about now or later, right? And I think everyone is pretty much saying the same thing in general, or wants the same thing, which is either Tatanka or / Battle Royale, or potentially campaign DLC. And the unfortunate truth is that we really don't have very much news about any of those. Of course, there's been a lot of evidence, a lot of smoking guns of Tatanka and Battle Royale, and most notably, which is this is pretty relevant. We know Certain Affinity has just about 100 people working on something completely from conception to design that is related to Halo Infinite. This is going to be a mainline centerpiece game mode or whatever for Halo Infinite that is most likely going to be either Conquest or Battle Royale, some kind of centerpiece that is going to bring in a lot of people. So while we're waiting on that, it makes me wonder about Halo 7. What is going to happen with the next Halo game? Is Microsoft really going to let 343 make another Halo game after the trend of 3 games now where sales are going down, the population is going down. We have now even content creators quitting, making other content than Halo, and just a lot of overall negativity that reached to a climactic point where Bonnie Ross left the studio, whether out of her own choice or was forced to step down. We really don't know, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter, but we do know that Bonnie Ross's position has been replaced by 3 different people, right? So that's good. There's been a lot of leadership change, but there's also been a lot of leadership leaving. And it does make me concerned because it would seem that 343 is experiencing a hiring freeze right now. So no new fresh blood can come in and start working on a new Halo game, right? So we do have that issue. Now, not every studio out there is going to be primed to make a Bungie-inspired arena shooter like Halo 3 or something that respects it. But, of course, that didn't stop Ensemble Studios or Certain Affinity from making the Halo Wars games. And honestly, in my own opinion, I think that this would have been a much better path for 343 to take than trying to make Halo 4, 5, and 6, because honestly, they didn't know how to make a Halo game until, well, recently. You could say maybe they still don't know how to make a Halo game that functions and plays like one of the original Halo games while evolving it, which I think Halo Infinite did a really great job at. But ultimately, I think 343 should have been making spin-offs this whole time. We have ODSTs being completely neglected. We have the Flood has not been seen since 2016. I think the last time we actually heard about the Flood was in Halo 3, right? I mean, there was no Flood in Halo 4, 5, or Infinite. There's been mentions of them, but it's quite clear that 343 doesn't like the Flood. And this is what I've heard from rumors, internal rumors, is that they don't care about the Flood. And I gotta say, there's just so many canceled Halo games over the years that I would have really preferred 343 to take over. Although that maybe would have been a disaster. We also have the Halo Mega Bloks game that was in development but was canned because Bonnie Ross said it felt like it would alienate fans. And then they run off and make the Halo TV show, which is hilarious. But anyway, I do worry that 343, given control over the mainline Halo games, I think that they should be done with the mainline Halo games at this point, honestly. I mean, especially with this reboot with Halo Infinite, I think that 343 would be an excellent candidate to kind of control some side Halo games. But as far as the Master Chief story goes, I think they've had their time, and I really would like for 343 to start working on a different series of events and storyline, or even prequels that take place during the Human Covenant War, 10, 20, 30 years before all the Halo games take place. 343 in the past has liked to butcher and overwrite iconic things in a story for probably things that would maybe make it more broad and that would bring in more people. And ironically, this is what led to kind of the de-evolution and depopulation of the Halo fan base. Paramount also said something that raised a big fat red flag in 22's summer. They said that they're starting to see Halo as a franchise. Absolutely. Which leads me to believe, especially with the heads at 343 signing off on the Halo TV show Season 1 script, that this Halo, this abomination, that Season 1 is exactly what 343 wants Halo to be. But because there's established lore in the way, they can't make it this way, even though they've literally overwritten Bungie lore many, many times. And it's really frustrating to see that because they're literally changing everything about Halo, even from stuff with Bungie, right? But, since this TV show is so successful, I fear that Paramount is going to start trying to make a reboot of Halo because no one's going to be interested in everything after Halo Infinite, right? So they're going to try to reboot Halo Reach or Halo 1, but it's going to be something based off the TV show. Now, that's just a dark theory, and I know it's not very much hopium here. I want to talk about the hopium stuff, but speaking on that note, I don't think 343 should get fired. Of course, there was this whole fire 343 thing, and I totally get the sentiment, and I think currently that would be a very bad idea, especially with the economy, with inflation, and just the hiring freeze that Microsoft and all these other large corporations are doing right now. There's a lot of talent and resources built up at 343, and there is a lot of potential good decisions that have come out of there and could come out of 343. And also ties with Bungie. But obviously, I think I'm preaching to the choir here that there needs to be something changing at the studio. And it is a little bit disheartening that Microsoft hasn't fixed whatever is going on here. Maybe letting go Bonnie Ross was a part of it, but I think that 343 can make a really solid game. If it was just a spinoff, there would be a lot less expectations, there'd be a lot less drama, they could have the wiggle room that they so desperately want, and they could actually execute on their vision, and it would be fine. Instead of violating the Master Chief story that like they've done this entire time in the lore, they could go somewhere else in the lore and work on that, and I think that'd be very welcome. At this point, I think we're getting a bit of maybe Master Chief burnout, or at least 343's story burnout, the mainline story's burnout, because it's just not working, in my opinion, right now, and that does make me really concerned about the future of the franchise. I am looking forward to what happens next, obviously, with Pilot and the weapon and all these things, but it feels tired. It really does. I did ask a question: which studio do you think could make a great Halo game? And we have 12,000 votes here, with 67% of y'all voting ID Software. Now, ID Software is technically owned by Microsoft because I think they were originally owned by ZeniMax Media or something. But yeah, 70% of y'all think that ID Software, and these guys are the ones that made Doom, right? So that kind of makes sense. Very similar arena style games. I think Naughty Dog has definitely made some of the most iconic games ever, like the Jak and Daxter series. I definitely love those. We have, Uncharted and Last of Us, and you just got to know that like everything that they make has a lot of love and passion put into it. Like they definitely are kind of like, in my opinion, like the Pixar but of video games, right? So I would be very, very pleased and happy for them to make something. We also have Epic Games, and Epic Games got 10% on the poll here. Now, I don't definitely think that this would be my first choice. However, I gotta say that they kind of stand out because they've made Unreal Engine, and we've been hearing pretty much all of 2022, this past year, that we've heard whispers of 343 moving to Unreal Engine, because at this point, Slipspace Engine is too spaghetti code. So Unreal Engine is supported, it supports their partners, supports their companies. They only take 5%. They would only take 5% of Halo 7 if this game was made on, if Halo 7 was made on Unreal. So I think that at least for Unreal Engine, I don't know if they would really be a good studio to make a Halo game on, but I do think that the fact that they have Unreal Engine under their belt, if the next Halo game was made by that engine, I think we would be pretty good and know at least the game worked, right? And quite frankly, that's where the bar is right now. Activision Blizzard is at 6%. They made games like Overwatch, right, and some other iconic ones, but Overwatch is probably the most likely, best example to use on why they could make a good Halo game. I think that, honestly, I don't think any of these studios should be trying to make Halo 3, but better. I don't think they should be making a mainline Halo game. I think they should make something that they already know how to make, like Naughty Dog. Very narrative-driven experience would be very interesting for Halo, like with ODSTs, moving around New Mombasa. It could be like an ODST sequel, could be a complete original with Marines and ODSTs and show the brutality of the Covenant during the war. With ID Software, we could see something a little bit more savage, like, I don't know, a rogue Spartan going mayhem on Covenant, right? Maybe some of Blue Team is in there. We also have DICE that could create something that's truly fantastic, right? Even if it's just a multiplayer experience, a third-person shooter Halo game that can also be switched to a first-person shooter Halo game in a massive battlefield with DICE's Frostbite engine, that would be phenomenal. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's not really the point of this video. I think that the next big Halo game, it probably will be Halo 7. It might be Halo the Endless or Campaign DLC. Now, Halo Wars 2, from what I was able to find, sold about 2 million copies. I think that definitely justifies a Halo Wars 3. That was Creative Assembly and 343 that worked on that. I'm imagining most of it was Creative Assembly doing the gameplay and conception and design. But man, I think with Bonnie Ross out the door and her wanting this franchise to only be controlled by 343, I think maybe those days are coming to an end. And we won't see this probably for years, but maybe they might be in talks. Microsoft might be in talks with one of these studios or even a studio that they own to start working on a new Halo experience. And I know not everyone's going to love Halo Wars, for example. That's an RTS game. It's not a first-person shooter, but it still stood out as one of my favorite Halo games. And plus, Halo was meant to be an RTS game in the beginning. Halo was meant to be a lot of things. Respawn Entertainment that made Titanfall. But regardless, I think the same people that made the Titanfall series, Titanfall 1 and 2, could definitely make a great Halo game. And again, it doesn't need to play like one of the Halo games that we're familiar with. It just needs to be a Halo game. Because quite frankly, I think, waiting 7 years for Halo Infinite to release was pretty disappointing. So some of y'all might be thinking, well, why not Bungie? Bungie's still around. They made Destiny, which was a hit, and many more people play that game than they do Halo right now, so why not get them to do it? Well, I really don't think Bungie realistically would want to work with Microsoft again. No, PlayStation, I guess, bought them, something like that. But anyway, I just have I have a sense that they don't want to work on another Halo game based on everything I've seen. And also, they kind of have the wrong mindset. I think they would have upset a lot of Halo fans right now with their kind of DLC plan, and that would be a hurdle on its own. But honestly, I think Bungie would probably be a really good candidate. I would have some major concerns there, but at least they don't have a bunch of drama or terrible reputation behind them, at least lately. Ultimately, all the companies that I've listed or will list have some kind of big drama around them, honestly. Almost all of them, it seems. I honestly, guys, I'd have to say, and I know this would be kind of extreme, but Microsoft, rather, we're going to give a bunch of money to make a Halo game happen. I would prefer them to just get some fans together and make a small studio ran by a few professionals, have some quality, control in there and have some professionals in there, but get a game studio up and running like a secondary 343 that's a little bit smaller. Throw them like $10-15 million and see what happens. I've said this for quite some time, but I think that Halo fans, especially people that are thinking about Halo every day in and out, have some really great ideas, have some good stories. Like there's people that like Reclaimer Gaming. I would love to see him write a Halo game. That I think he would be a awesome writer to base a Halo game off, even if it was just a short experience, even if it was just a tech demo to see if this experiment worked. I think Microsoft should fund some fans and see what happens. I think they should make a little indie game, a little indie Halo game, and see what happens. Make it non-canon, I don't care. Although I really would have a great feeling about Respawn Entertainment making a game. That would be really awesome. Of course, ID Software and any of these other companies that would actually accept some kind of deal, I think Microsoft would take a huge paycheck cut because usually when these games do this, it probably comes at like a 40, 50 something percent cut just to, for the license fee or whatever. But I don't know. I think it would probably still be worth it. And to bring people back in the Halo series would be really great right about now. Anyways, guys, if you agree or disagree with me with anything I said here, let me know down in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion. I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Peace.